Now, for the past 9 years, this woman has livened up our lunchtimes with her comic timing and sarcastic, very amusing wit. And more recently, she wowed us with her courage and determination when she took to the ice. It is, of course, our very loose-lipped Coleen Nolan.
Born in Blackpool in 1965, Coleen Nolan was just 2 years old when she began performing on stage with her family. After finishing school, Coleen joined her sisters in their band and the Nolan Sisters were born. Soon after, they conquered the pop world with the disco classic I'm in the Mood for Dancing. Coleen met her first husband, comedian Shane Ritchie, in 1986, and together they had 2 sons, Shane Jr. and Jake. But unfortunately, after 12 years together, their marriage broke down. In 2000, a ray of light entered Coleen's life in the form of Ray Fensome, and after a whirlwind romance, she gave birth to their beautiful baby girl, Kira, in 2001. The couple sealed their relationship in 2007 with a wedding in Yorkshire. This year has seen Coleen laugh, cry and tumble whilst taking part in Dancing on Ice, and despite 2 serious injuries, she finished in a very respectable 4th place.
I will always look back on it as, you know, the best thing that I've ever done.
For the last 9 years, Coleen has swapped pop for presenting and continues to liven up our lunchtimes on the Loose Women panel.
Oh, you're all laughing, but I think you're all slightly insane.
She is the people's favourite. She is Coleen Nolan, and her new book, Up Front and Personal, has arrived at #1 in the bestsellers list. You just said to me, "Blimey, could that camera get any closer?"
It's very, when I saw it, I went, oh dear, it's very close.
It looks fabulous. Was this book a bit of therapy for you as well? I mean, you're still only in your early 40s, but my gosh, you've packed a lot in.
Well, I always said, when I've been approached for about the last 4 or 5 years to write my autobiography, and I kept putting it off. Now I want to write it when I'm in my 60s or 70s, because to me, you write your autobiography when you've had a full life. But it's actually my manager pointed out that people might not be interested by the time I get to 60, so I thought I better get on with it.
But also, I suppose there's a lot of things you sort of keep from members of your family, keep from your parents.
Yeah.
And the fact that, sadly, I mean, I think your mum you lost a couple of years ago.
Yes.
And was that a defining moment?
Absolutely. I definitely wouldn't have written it while either of my parents were alive, definitely. Because I always wanted to be very honest if I wrote an autobiography, and I knew that I wouldn't write anything that might in any way hurt either of them, so I'd never have written it if they'd still been alive.
Well, the difficult revelations. For instance, I mean, there you are as the youngest of 8 children.
Yeah.
2 brothers. Hang on, 5, 6 sisters.
6
it's
girls,
difficult
2 boys.
6 boys, 2 girls. Well, complicated.
Yeah.
But a lot of you. And your mum and dad earning a living as well with their singing act, and you become, you know, the Nolan family. And so to lots of people you would have seemed like a very happy, bonded family, getting out there doing the pubs and clubs.
Absolutely. I mean, we were known as Blackpool's Von Traps. You know, we were actually like, my mum actually made our dresses, our curtains, just like the film. You know, it was, we were the Waltons later on. You know, everyone thought we were, you know, goody-goody image, and we never swore, and we, you know, never looked at boys or... So we did have a very sweet image.
But
that's
behind
not,
the scenes,
case,
yes, your dad wasn't...
My dad?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny actually, because the bits that obviously the press have taken out of the books are the you know, the bits about my dad being quite violent when we were younger. And of course, if it's taken out of context of the book, it sounds horrendous. I mean, it sounds like we were literally beaten up every day of our lives. We weren't. It was when I was very much younger. When we were doing the clubs and he was a big drinker. He was the best man sober. He was just the best dad when he was sober. But drink brought out this nasty side in him, and sometimes he'd do things that, as a child, and even now as a woman, I think, oh, that was so unfair, that he'd smack me for no reason or just because he'd had a drink. But that was very early on in my life, and certainly the last 20 or 25 years of his life, when he'd stopped drinking completely due to ill health, and he was just the best dad ever, and I loved him. You know.
There was a difficult revelation that your sister Anne, I think, had, that he had physically abused her. And you don't really address that for yourself in this book, because you say it didn't happen to you. But again, it's a tough thing to know about your father.
It's incredibly tough to know, and the guilt that I have from knowing, because I feel that I should despise him because of Anne, because of what he did to my sister, because I totally believe Anne. But yeah, I don't. I still have this childish love for my dad, and it's like she's talking about somebody that I never met. So it's a real mixed bag of emotions, even now.
Was it ever, as a family, because you see, you are a close group.
Yeah.
Was it ever discussed between you? Did you discuss those days, as you said, those unfortunate days when he had too much to drink, or Anne's experiences? Was that ever discussed? Has it been discussed since you might have
It's
passed
been
on?
discussed since. I mean, once Anne, because we didn't know really until Anne told us very later on. I mean, I was like, I think late 20s when I found out, and that's when we all kind of found out, and we discussed it then. But we never confronted him, and neither did Anne, you know, and he was still alive then, but we never confronted him about it.
No.
And we did discuss it, but then it was kind of, you know what, unless we're going to confront it, unless we're going to deal with it, then let's, you know, and that was down to Anne, really. It was up to Anne what she wanted to do, so it was very much, it's kind of not my business.
You said also that you just pointed out then that when you were out performing, you've compared to the sort of Von Trapps and the Waltons, and there was a real naivety to you, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And that naivety extended into your personal life as well, because you fell pregnant at a very early age, and said that you never imagined that you could get pregnant off your first time.
No, well, I was that age, you know. I was 15 when I first met my then boyfriend, and I found out just after my 16th birthday, luckily, that I was pregnant. I'd just joined my sisters. We just had a record in the top 10, and we had this goody sweet image. My mum and dad didn't even know I'd kissed a boy, let alone slept with a boy. They weren't the type of parents that you could have that kind of open discussion relationship thing with. And I just panicked, and I just thought, I can't tell anybody that I'm pregnant. I have to deal with this on my own, because I'll destroy my sister's career, I'll destroy my mum and dad, and I'll just disappoint everybody, and it'll be my fault. And I just felt that I had to deal with it there and then, and I did.
And you did with that boyfriend,
with the boyfriend,
Robin.
Yeah.
So when did you? Because it's a tough one to bury as well when you're little, and I'm sure all of those emotions were whizzing around in you. When did you reveal it to the sisters? Never to your mum or dad?
I never told my mum and dad. I didn't reveal it to the sisters for years. I mean, it was something that I kept for years to myself.
Yes.
Because it never felt the right time. And also then I felt, what a terrible position to put them in. Because now as well I have a daughter of my own, and the thoughts of her ever getting into a situation where she felt she couldn't come and tell me horrifies me. And I think it would have horrified my mum. I think my mum would be more upset that I never went to her.
But also
because they would have dealt with it.
Times are different now, aren't they? I mean, I think we have a much more, or we appear to have a much more open relationship with
Well,
our
we do.
children.
I mean, I certainly do with my kids, but at the same time, you know, when you're 15 or 16 and you panic and you think you're going to disappoint your parents, I still think that age stays the same.
This was the early 1980s, and the Nolans, as you say, I mean, the Nolans